was a pretty brutal day.
Yeah, it's a fitting day to record this episode, I think.
Yeah, so some context for you guys before we get into stuff. Jordy just took a over 3-hour nap, and we were supposed to record earlier. And I said, it's totally fine if you want to wait. And she's like, actually, this will make me more tired and go to sleep on time.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Because my sleep schedule's been kind of out of whack since I've been feeling like I need to rest in the middle of the day. So then I end up not really that tired at night, and then I don't sleep that well, and then I'm really tired the next day. So it's like this sort of terrible cycle.
Right.
But yeah, I think today makes sense to film this because earlier this morning I had 2 seizures back to back. And it was my own fault. I mean, I think we can say that I missed a dose of my Keppra, which is my anti-seizure medicine, and the pharmacy near us isn't 24/7. So by the time we went to go, I wanted to go pick it up. It was already too late last night. So this morning I was FaceTiming Erica, and all of a sudden I just like got this feeling that I was going to start having a seizure. It was just in my arm and my hand on the left side. But they each lasted for like 5 or 6 minutes. And it just takes a lot out of you because like you get really tense. And like you just have no control over your body. So it's like a pretty not good feeling. But Hank like ran in the rain and grabbed me my prescription. And I took that, and then I just like rested for the rest of the day. And I mean, I'm feeling better now, but my body just feels really tired.
Yeah, and the other thing is that unlike most of the other things that we have questions about, this one was pretty easily answerable in terms of like why this happened. Some more context around that is that you take a very high dose of that anti-seizure medication. So logical brain me goes, if you're on a high dose of any medication and you decide to not taper yourself off, let alone just cut yourself off completely.
Right. I mean, that wasn't the goal. The goal was not to not take the medicine.
But that's like...
Right. But yes,
my
I
logical
agree.
brain says, okay, this all makes sense as to why it's happening. It's not a symptom of... something else or something that's going to make things worse.
But seizures are like a symptom of CAR-T, like within the first month.
Oh, I didn't know that.
For like 30 to 40% of people.
Okay.
So, I mean, it makes sense, but I think the fact that I didn't take the dose of my medication is probably the leading cause.
And it's the first time you haven't taken your dose since you've had your last seizure.
Right. No, I know.
So,
like, my last seizure was random.
I know, but you also weren't on that dose of...
I wasn't,
of Keppra.
Yeah.
And this is your first time you have since you've been on that dose.
Right.
So, Erica would be proud of me with my research brain.
She would.
Yeah.
So speaking of Erica, she is not going to be in this episode because she is actually at her brother and sister-in-law's wedding, and she's officiating. So she has a very busy weekend. So Hank and I figured, hey, we could use this time to sort of like...
People have been asking for us to do an episode not about what we did last time.
Yeah, about caregiving.
It's almost like they were disappointed in the episode that we did, not because they didn't enjoy it, but because they want
to know like, how's Hank really doing?
Yeah, and like I hate that.
Yeah.
But I'll do it.
But the people want to know.
Sure.
So I guess we can start with today, like when I called out for you from the other room.
Yeah.
Like what goes through your head when I'm saying like, hey, Hank, can you come here?
Well, what was the first thing that I said back to you?
I don't remember.
I said, is everything okay?
Oh.
And you said, no, not really.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. I've heard that before.
Yeah. So you kind of knew.
I kind of knew. I probably asked you And I tried not to be overbearing about it, but I probably asked you like 3 or 4 times yesterday, can you go get your medicine? Or do you want me to go get it? Or it's going to rain. Do you think you should go get it before it starts raining? And so like the anxiety was already in me. Knowing how much the last seizure affected you mentally, I'm not even talking about physically. That's where my anxiety sets in of, I don't want you to take this just so that you could physically not have seizures.
Yeah.
I don't want you to have to take this so that it doesn't derail you.
Yeah.
There's like, I had some intuition that was just like, the Keppra kept being a constant between nurses, doctors, etc., to the point that I didn't want you to have a seizure again.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought that this could happen. That's the fine line that I have to, as a caregiver, navigate. And like, everybody's different, but you knew to listen to your body when it mattered the most. And so I will always let you make the final decision on whatever you want to do to your body. But I also can't be overbearing at the same time, because then I'll come across as, to myself more so than you, I'll come across as like more like parental and like bossy, and like I don't like that at all. I like the fact that you have like your own autonomy, and I'm more of a support than I am a caregiver.
Right.
But that was like an instance where I was like,
so what kept you from just going and getting it for me?
One was work. I did have a lot of meetings, and I was working most of the day. The other thing was you had a couple of days in a row where you were doing stuff that wasn't just laying in bed all day. And I kept thinking, all right, we've hit a consecutive streak of a couple days where it's slow, but it's like, yeah, you walked a mile 2 consecutive days.
Yeah.
I totally can see you doing it again.
Yeah.
But by the time that I could have gone, it started pouring outside. Yeah. Like I probably should have gone.
I'm not blaming you.
No. I know you're not. I know you're not. But I probably should have gone.
Yeah.
But I had a long day of work.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to walk out in the rain.
Understood.
And it's like, it's not like around the block. It's like,
it's a couple.
It's like probably like a 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, like we could wait until
we didn't.
Maybe the rain subsides. And then by the time that I looked at my watch again,
the pharmacy was closed.
Right.
Right. Yeah. It was just like a series of unfortunate events, I think.
Lemony Snicket.
I loved those books.
Yeah. You watched this series too.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah.
It was like MPH, right?
Yeah. He played the like evil Count Olaf.
Yeah.
You're on like in a tough position because you're like always on the like fine line of,
it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
like, do I overstep? Do I overstep? It's not overstepping. It's not. To go get my medicine, but like, do I just go do it for her?
Do I take charge?
Yeah. Do I take charge and just go do it for her because it's not happening and it needs to happen?
Right.
And I feel like I haven't really put you in that position too many times.
But here's the thing about this specific instance is that you have always put your health first since you've been diagnosed. Like always. Like you went without sugar for a while. Like you were on top of everything, asking all these questions. So you not getting your Keppra refilled in time is very out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Like extremely.
Yeah.
It's not like it's I've never had to convince you to go get your medicine before.
Right.
And so I think it was just like a new position for me to be in too.
Well, no, the point is you thought I could be more.
Right. What I was going to say is like, that's the last thing I wanted to come off as is like, I'm intentionally not getting it for you.
No, obviously you weren't intentionally not getting it for me.
Right.
But I think sometimes you you like to encourage me to be independent and you don't want to enable me. And I think sometimes I would say this is an instance where maybe we don't hold that line.
Yeah.
At like medication.
I agree. I think more so than anything else, it was just the fact that like it was so out of the ordinary. Like, this is something that you've been like, not just in terms of Kepra, but in terms of your overall health, been so laser focused on.
Well, I mean, realistically, like, you aren't in charge of any of my healthcare. Like, I make all of my own appointments. I schedule everything. I'm in communication with all my doctors. Like,
you shouldn't have to draw the line at getting your medicine. Like, you should ask me.
Right. I kind of just wish that you would just do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I'm not going and getting it, you could just, like, I just wish you'd be like, okay, I'll go do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I wish I didn't have to be like, okay, like, I don't really feel like up for going. Like, can you go do it?
Sure.
Because it's hard for me to admit that doing like one thing a day is hard for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't think there's no like right or wrong in this situation. No. It's just like, I know that it's coming from a place of like love and like wanting me to like be active and whatever, but it's like I feel like I got hit by a train, you know? And sometimes I feel like you forget that.
I don't forget that.
Okay.
No.
Well then, yeah, I guess that's just how it feels to me.
Yeah. That's noted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll work on that.
So that's, I guess, where we can start the conversation with caregiving. So when I first started having symptoms, summer of last year, when we were on vacation in Chicago.
Right.
What was going through your mind? And I thought it was from sleeping weird on the plane.
Me too. I thought nothing of it.
Yeah.
Honestly. I thought, okay, maybe you have like a pinched nerve or, you know, dead arm or something like that. And kind of went about my business.
So no real concern.
No.
Yeah. When did you start to feel worried? If you ever did feel worried?
When you called me from the emergency room.
So up until that point, you weren't really...
I wasn't overly worried, no.
No.
I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think? You just thought like, oh, like something weird's just happening in her body, or...
I thought like you have a pinched nerve or like...
But even though it showed that I didn't have a pinched nerve.
Right. Yeah, I think I was so intertwined in like raising a kid.
Yeah.
And still not getting a lot of sleep and figuring out how to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
That I didn't really think too far down a black hole of despair.
For sure. I mean, I didn't think down a black hole of despair at all.
You're right.
I was just like, this doesn't seem like normal.
Right.
So I want to know what's going on. But I guess like I wasn't really worried about it too much. So you probably weren't as worried about it either.
No.
Were you worried when Erica got worried?
No.
In Denver?
No.
Still weren't worried at that point?
I really wasn't worried until you called me from the emergency room. And then...
What did you think when I said I wanted to go to the emergency room?
I thought that's smart. Like, that's a good precaution. Like, nobody's been able to figure this out. Like, let's make sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
And then when you didn't call me until after Brody went to sleep, I was like,
Did you have a bad feeling?
Yeah, for sure. And then I took a deep breath after you called me. And then I just basically told me, okay. I told myself, like, my life's about to change forever.
Is that what you thought?
Yep. That's really? What I said to myself.
You said that out loud?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then I couldn't really have time to process or think. I kind of had to leave our pigsty that our child left.
Yeah.
In our living room of toys and stuff, and apologize to your parents for the mess.
That's where your mind was at. Like, sorry, our place is messy.
You're right.
It's like such a you thing.
And Yeah. I mean,
So then what? So I call you, I tell you the news, and you say to yourself, okay, like my life's gonna
yes,
never be the same.
correct.
And then what happens?
My mind goes into all the hypotheticals.
Which were what?
Which were, how long do you have?
And at this point, we didn't know it was cancer.
It still
Yeah.
goes to how long do you have? Because we didn't, this is weird to say, but like, I didn't realize how safe your brain surgery would be.
Right. No, me neither.
When you hear the words brain and surgery, you think
Like, oh, there's a chance this person's not gonna
be the same person.
be the same person or be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Or survive.
Yeah. I had those same thoughts go through my head.
I thought about Brody a lot. I thought about how I would even be able to be a single dad.
Yeah. So you were already going to that place.
Oh, right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of it. I thought about myself a lot in context of just like the next progression of my entire life and like how many different things I have to account for now. But the thing that I always come back to during that time is what I didn't think about. And I had tunnel vision.
Yeah.
On just like, here's what the possibilities are.
Right.
Just playing everything out. That's where my mind was, rather than just staying in the present.
Yeah.
Figuring stuff out as they come.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's really hard to stay in the present when you
especially
get
when you
such
get that
shocking news.
yeah.
I mean, it was just so unexpected.
Yeah. It was devastating.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was more devastating because we both had the same thought, which was we'd rather be in each other's places right now.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I never wanted to be in your place.
Yeah, you're right.
I've never.
You're right.
I have never wanted to be.
We had the same thought in terms of like you would rather be in your place,
and you would rather be in my place.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you have a really hard position to be in.
Yeah, I think I had trouble admitting to myself. Not admitting to myself. Let me rephrase. I had trouble letting people into how I was specifically feeling for a long time.
Yeah.
Like a long time.
Yeah.
I'm talking like, when did I start going to...
You were already in therapy because...
When did I switch therapists?
Oh, that was a lot more recent. But it wasn't because you
It wasn't
switched.
because, but it was around that time. It was like give or take a few weeks where I was just like, I need to be okay with people knowing
Yeah.
how I'm feeling, not for the sake of me getting it out, but like for their peace of mind.
Yeah.
They need to understand that I am processing this, which we could go into later because we're getting ahead of ourselves. But
Yeah, let's go back to the moment. So like you're driving to the hospital.
I'm driving to the hospital.
You're having all these dark thoughts and like sort of...
That's it. Like everything was around just hypotheticals.
And then like you see me and...
Still.
Yeah.
It's just all hypotheticals for like the next 48 hours.
Got it. Okay.
That's what I mean by like, it wasn't it's what I was not thinking about that I look back on now. Because I was so focused on a few things.
Yeah.
In the overall.
And what were those few things?
The hypotheticals.
Right, but like just examples.
What do I do with Brody if Jordy doesn't make it out of surgery?
Yeah.
How do I make sure that I can support him financially? How do I make sure that I can support him parentally, how do I make sure that our in-laws, my in-laws and my mom and our entire family isn't just overbearing with support to the point that they're tiring themselves out.
Right. Getting burnt out.
Exactly. There was just like a lot of like mental fatigue.
Yeah.
In thinking about all the like things I would have to do, let alone like you pay our water bill. Like I've never paid our water bill.
Right. I know.
So there's just like things that
We still haven't gone over that one.
I know we do, but there are a lot of things that I was thinking about from one end of the spectrum, right, to the whole other end of the spectrum,
like the logistical stuff,
like the water bill.
Yeah,
and I was just like, I better get my shit together, because it feels like you don't have your shit together when something like that happens.
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
And so like, yeah, that's all that I was focused on up until around to Cedars from the hospital, from the ER that you were admitted to. And I would say after you were out of surgery, I was okay.
Yeah. You were relieved I had made it.
I was relieved that you made it. I also wasn't as nervous as everybody else was. There were like, so this is really funny. There were like 15 people in your
hospital room?
in your hospital room during your surgery.
Yeah.
And so like I had to wait with like a bunch of people who like were amazing and so supportive, and I'm so thankful that they were there. But again, like I hadn't really processed anything.
Right.
So I was in caregiving mode from that point on.
Right.
Where I was just like, I wanted to play calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah.
And want to make sure that everybody was doing okay. To the point where when you were recovering in, what was it, ICU, who was the first person that saw you?
My mom.
Do you know why your mom was the first person that saw you?
Because you told her to be the first person to see me.
Because?
You knew that she needed it.
Correct.
Yeah, I know.
And so I literally told her, like, Sue, I'm going to be spending like every waking second with her.
Yeah.
Like, go see your daughter.
Yeah, it was very kind of you.
No, but like that was like the start of my caregiving experience.
No, I know. You weren't really tending to your own needs. You were
No, not at all.
Tending to everyone else's.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because 48 hours you were out of the hospital.
Yeah.
Chilling.
Yeah. I mean, like I was recovering, but like for the most part, I was like pretty much okay, especially cognitively. I was totally fine.
I remember one of my, I was talking to one of my best friends on the way home, because I went home a day before you got released from the hospital.
Right, so you could go be with Brody.
So I could go be with our son so that he could still be acclimated and doesn't feel like he's just,
being thrown into a really weird situation.
Right. And I was talking and just updating him on what was going on. And he asked me, like, did Jordy have a craniotomy? And I was like, yeah. Why? And he was like, I watched a YouTube video of one.
That's so
and the craziest part of it was how jazzed up the doctor at Northwestern was to talk about how like the recovery process is one of the easier recovery processes in all of surgery.
Yeah.
And it's on your brain.
Yeah.
And
it's because you don't have nerve endings
on
your brain. So like you don't have actual pain. It's like you have pain at the incision site.
I know, but no pun intended. It doesn't compute.
No, it doesn't make sense. Like your brain is in charge of everything for your body. So you would think, yeah.
Right. And so like hearing just something like that gives me a little more, at that time, calmness.
Yeah.
And then you get home. It was difficult's not the right word, because it wasn't difficult.
It was different.
It was different, but it was in a good way challenging.
Well, I think it was Like,
for me.
Yeah, no, I know. I was going to say, I think it was like the first time that you really had to be
Fully in charge of Brody.
Yeah, dad, and as like taking care of the dogs and taking care of the house and taking care of every single thing. Like I couldn't pick up Brody. I couldn't do bedtime.
Right.
I couldn't, like, even being around him during bedtime, it was triggering for him. He'd want me to hold him. So like from the second he went upstairs to do bath time, it's like I was done at that point in the night. And it was really hard for me to like let up that control, and it was challenging for you to like take that on.
In a good way for me.
Yeah.
It was challenging in a
Bad way
difficult way for you.
Yeah.
In a good way, I almost was like,
I can do it.
not even. It's not even I can do it. It's I have to do it.
Right.
I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So I better learn to like it.
Yeah, and we had a lot of help. We had people who were over a lot.
Oh my God, we had so much support.
Yeah, like grandparents and friends and siblings, and like everyone was.
And we had an open
there.
door policy.
Yeah, we had like a lot of people in there helping us out. But like when it was just like me and you and Brody, like it was hard when.
And this was like a period of
bedtime.
what, like six
weeks,
yeah.
I would say. And I just remember when we first got home, and I think we decided we were going to watch Love is Blind or something. We were like, we just need to take our mind off of this ridiculous situation, because we didn't know the diagnosis yet. And so I think we would watch Love is Blind, and then I would like have a cry, and then we would watch Love is Blind, and then I would have a cry. But you didn't really let yourself get emotional at that point. You were just sort of like there to support me.
Yeah.
And you were just like, I'm so sorry this is happening.
Right.
Like, I'm so sorry this is your reality. This is like, whatever. At what point did it shift for you from like, I'm so sorry this is happening to you, to like, I can't believe this is our life now?
It's interesting how you phrase that. Because the whole time before the diagnosis, I would say that I was less thinking about, again, like our life.
I know.
And I was thinking about you versus me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel so bad for you, but also, what the fuck am I about to do?
Yeah.
And then Brody. It was like a three-way street. But I kind of associated Brody more with my
right
lens.
Yeah.
So I think I was just more avoidant of it. I was like, just always just like trying to come back to like everything will be okay, or like.
Did you truly believe that?
No.
So you would just tell yourself that? But
yeah, I was half in denial and half avoiding it.
Yeah.
Like I was not in acceptance.
Yeah.
Yet I also wasn't fully in denial, if that makes sense. Like I was in this like weird space of like just confusion.
Yeah. I mean, it is such a confusing
And then not
time.
only is it confusing, there's nobody that I know in our entire lives who's in this position at this point in their lives.
Yeah.
And that was a part that was like super triggering for me.
Yeah, it was very isolating.
Yeah. That was a part where I was where I was most at odds with myself, being like, I don't want to. I can't rely on other people to expect to know what I'm going through or to.
Right.
And I thought that from very early, but like that was to my detriment.
I mean, yeah.
So yeah, it was like mostly avoidant.
And then once we got the diagnosis,
It sucked.
yeah, you sort of let yourself feel it
cried.
that day. I know. We've discussed on here before that Hank's only cried a handful of times, but that was one of them.
Even if I knew how to like properly cry, properly activate my tear ducts. This is too numbing now.
Yeah.
There's no like release that can, I mean, I can't say that for sure.
Right, you don't know.
I don't. But I'm just like, there's this like film of sadness over me as opposed to like a rush.
Right.
I never, like, how many times since a diagnosis have you seen me like just like out of sorts or like?
I think only a few.
Yeah. I'm not really that like high intense.
No, I know. Like you're very even keeled
now. And I used to not be.
Well, I feel like you were, then you went through the postpartum depression thing and you weren't. And then you started getting back to a place where you were more even keeled and then this happened.
I think if anything, I got like lower instead of like.
Lower in what way?
Like mood and.
Like down?
Yeah.
Like more depressed, you mean?
Yes. As
Oh,
opposed
yeah.
to like angry.
Oh, yeah. No, you weren't really angry.
No. But I was during postpartum depression.
No, I know. It was different.
Whereas like this, I'm more like.
This was more sad.
This is more just like metaphorical sigh over metaphorical sigh.
Yeah.
And I hate attention.
Yeah, you should talk about this piece because
Sure.
this kept you isolated for a while.
Yeah, I hate attention. There's times where you guys really put attention on me in my past where I'm just like, please, I'm blushing.
Like what?
Like the Emmy.
Oh.
Or
Hank is an Emmy winner, everyone.
No.
He is an Emmy winning producer.
No.
He is.
No. I just like, I like being in the shadows. It's like why I like being off camera as opposed to on camera in my profession.
Totally.
And this, I had no choice but to be in front of people.
Well, I guess talk about what the worry was. Like, what was the worry if you...
I didn't want people to feel bad for me.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
Why?
It's a very good question. And one that I had a long time to figure out. It took me a while. Because I don't like attention.
Sure.
I don't want to talk to you about something that's so new and fresh in my mind and like is life changing. Like I'm already coping in the ways that I thought were healthy. The last thing I wanted to do was to be more extroverted about it.
Yeah.
In terms of my struggle when my wife is the one who has this terminal brain cancer. This is what it comes down to, and I know this is what you're thinking, is that I didn't want people's sympathy. Like, I wasn't looking to be like a sympathetic figure or like an empathetic figure or like somebody who almost looks like... I didn't want everybody to treat me like a sad puppy.
That's what you would always say.
Right.
Yeah, like Hank would be like, I want to see friends, but like I don't because I don't know how to like act in public anymore.
Right.
Because I don't want people to look at me like a sad puppy.
Right. That's right.
And what would I say to you?
They're not going to?
No. Maybe they will.
What did you say?
Do you remember what I would ask you? I would say, what does it mean about you if they feel sorry for you? You know, like you held this idea of like, if people feel sorry for me, then that means X, Y, or Z about me.
Right.
You know? And I'm like, don't you think that if people show you love and compassion and kindness and worry, that that's like a sign that they really care about you? And it was like really hard for you to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I only associated my position with, oh, you should feel sorry for him.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of like vibe I thought I would be
giving off. The other thing I was thinking too is like, because you were quite avoidant in the beginning, I think going out in public and having people ask you about it was probably not ideal.
100%.
You weren't dealing with it really. You were avoiding the whole thing. And so people bringing it up to you was just like not in your comfort zone and not something you wanted to look at.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah. And it's like, obviously people are going to ask you about it.
Right.
So it like became easier for you to just like...
I didn't want to talk about it because I automatically would assume that people would feel bad for me.
Right.
And I know we keep coming back to that point, but that's kind of the point.
Right.
Is that I didn't know how to talk about how I was doing or the situation in its entirety without thinking that people were just going to treat me differently than they had before.
Right. And I kept coming back to the point. So like, what if they do? Like,
Right.
what does that mean about the friendship? What does that
Right.
mean about you? And that was a hard question for you to answer for a really long time.
It was really hard for me to process that every relationship that I have was going to change.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Yeah.
And I hate change. You know that? You know that about me quite well.
You do, yeah. Every like larger decision we've made
Yeah.
in our time together has sort of been me, you know, holding Hank's hand and pulling him across the bridge to the next.
This decision was a little more out of my control.
Oh no, I mean it's fully out of.
Yeah,
our
I wouldn't
control.
say it's fully out of my control because I could have just like not.
I mean, yeah, but I think these are really extreme circumstances.
Right.
But yeah, you struggle with change to begin with.
Yeah.
So as do most people.
Yeah.
Do you remember a moment where things sort of changed or things got like more real for you? Like you couldn't really avoid anymore? Because we know avoidance is like obviously a coping skill, but
Do you remember?
yeah.
A lot has happened. So it's been.
Somehow I still have a perfect memory.
Yeah. Says the woman who had brain surgery.
I know. Well, maybe we need to back up for a second.
Okay.
How did this impact our marriage?
Oh.
Like what happened?
It reframed our entire marriage in a lens of like most things that I cared about in the past, like I couldn't give two shits about.
Yeah.
That I shouldn't have cared about as much.
Yeah. So it brought perspective.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the big thing. It was also like it's changed in a way of like intimacy. Mm-hmm. It's just never going to be the same. That's okay.
What do you mean by that?
You're tired. You're tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah, we're both tired. I know we should answer that question because people have asked that before about intimacy.
Yeah. I think we are, it's funny because we talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
It's the least intimate we've been in the past. Like this past year is the least intimate we've ever been.
Physically.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's the closest we've ever been.
Yeah. Emotionally.
And it's the most healthy our relationship has ever been.
Yeah.
So it's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
Would I ironic be right?
I feel like our relationship is healthier now in the last like 4 or 5 months than it has been in a long time.
Yeah.
Probably because we went through a lot of stuff. But I feel like also in the last few months, we've like sort of addressed the physical stuff and like have been working on that and trying to incorporate it back into our relationship. And so I feel like the blend of those two things is helpful.
Yes. But I guess we're not as overtly reliant on physical intimacy.
And by that word, we mean sex. Like
sex, but just like...
No, because we are intimate in the sense that like we hold hands and we hug and we kiss and we whatever. It's not like we don't touch each other.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Because of how tired we are, it's not even like a pressing matter anymore like it used to be.
Well, yeah, before it's like you feel this pressure, maybe it's just us, but
no, people do.
I think most people, it's like you feel this pressure that like your partner's like wanting something from you or expecting something from you, and like you feel bad if you don't have it in you to like perform or whatever. And I think like all that just went out the window.
Yeah.
Like none of that matters.
No.
But what I kind of think is nice about that is then it's like when we are intimate, it's like purely because we want to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's like no like, oh, I'm doing this for you or you're doing this for me. You know,
Right.
like checking it off the list.
Right.
It's like not like that.
No.
So I feel like that's kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it totally changes your relationship in that way for sure. It just like, you know, is not a priority
No.
anymore. And then I remember in the beginning when I was first diagnosed, you were feeling like sort of on the outside of, do you remember this?
Yeah, because I actually would be harsher on myself about this.
Like you were basically like, I feel like after an appointment, like you always call Alex and Erica or your mom and like we don't just sit.
Part.
We don't just like sit in it.
Right.
And I just remember, and this was like a really hard time for me because you were so avoidant. I felt like very alone in my diagnosis journey. And so it's like I wanted to call people who wanted to talk. Yeah. And you just sort of wanted to sit in it.
Well, can I give you there's an example that just like I think about a lot when you talk about this, and it's like goes to show how far we've come, is that right after we got your diagnosis, I was in the car and I was like still processing this and just wanted to, you know, just kind of like sit in it. You instantly called. I forgot. It
My
was
parents.
probably your parents first or something. And I was annoyed.
Yeah.
I was just like, hey, like, how about some time? Because I think I just wanted to like give myself some time before I would get a bum rush of texts or before everybody had to start feel sorry for me or, you know, whatnot. But then that manifested itself into being like a secondary
support.
I wouldn't say support. I still think I was primary support, but I was
not emotionally.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was secondary in terms of like I didn't want to know.
You didn't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I know it was a defense mechanism.
Yeah, of course.
Until there was, I would say, one night where you just like said, we need to talk.
Yeah.
And you hashed everything out where you were just like,
I was not shy.
You were not shy.
I did not sugarcoat anything.
Nope.
And I was never angry.
No.
I was never angry. I was never like, you're not doing this and like, you're not showing up for me and blah, blah, blah.
But yes. And what you kept saying was, I need you to do these things.
Yeah.
As opposed to me, who was completely unprepared for what was coming my way and trying to figure it out on the go and had no idea what to do except thinking that shielding himself would be the best form of, you know, not knowing anything is the best, you know, defense mechanism. And I think ever since that conversation, like...
Yeah. It's been a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot better.
What did you say? What did you say to me in that conversation? Do you remember?
Yeah, I basically just said... My main feeling was like, first you were frustrated that you weren't my like main source of support. And I was like, totally get that. Like, I would love for you to be my main source of support. I've always outsourced my emotional needs. Like, not needs, all of them or anything, but like Alex and Erica and my mom have always been people that I've gone to talk through emotional stuff with. Yeah. So it's like, and I think it's important to have multiple people in your life that serve like all these different purposes. I don't think your partner has to be everything. They don't have to be the only one that you can like talk to about everything. so it's like I was fine with that, but I was like, you're wanting to like, I thought about it like, this is like the Super Bowl, and like you're not like on, what's that first string, a team?
You're not a starter.
Right, you're not a starter. You're wanting to be a starter, but it's the Super Bowl.
I'm
so
Adam Sandler and the Waterboy.
yes, so I can't put you in like, and I think the hard part is that like in our relationship, I mean, and I think this is part of just like being a therapist and stuff, but like I'm always the one leading our emotional conversations.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like sometimes having to like pull things out of you, and like it feels like pulling teeth sometimes, and I'm just like, I don't have it in me to do that. Like I don't want to. Not only do I not want to, I can't play that role right now. I was like, if you want to be a starter, be a starter. But I can't teach you how to be a starter.
What you said that really permeated with me was, I need you to do this with me.
Yeah.
It wasn't for you. Mm-mm. It was with you. When you were just like, no, like, I need you to do this with me. We are going through this together.
Yeah.
You are not going through this alone. I am not going through this alone. Then when you said the words, I need you to sit in this with me.
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, oh, like being there for you could just mean cuddling you in bed.
Yeah.
Not saying a word while you get some tears out of your system.
Exactly.
Whereas in the past, if that was me, I would be thinking, am I supposed to say something right now? I have no idea what to say. Like, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? Like,
and now I feel like you share those internal thoughts with me.
Yeah.
You'll be like, are you okay? Okay, that's the last time I'm going to ask you that, because you probably don't want me to ask you if you're okay right now. It's like you're just like more vulnerable. Yeah. Whereas before you're like, oh, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to make you feel this way. I don't want to make you feel that way. Now it's just like everything's out in the open. And yeah, so I think that was like a big turning point. I think I said something harsh, which was what I think it was basically.
It came off as harsh.
It did. And I like, in some ways I intended it to, because I wanted you to understand the severity of.
I wouldn't even call it harsh. Like, you weren't being like.
I wasn't mean. It wasn't malicious.
But that's kind of like, but instead, I think you were just like bold.
Yeah.
You were just saying.
I just remember saying like, I think I said something like, this isn't what like when we got married, it's like in good times and bad, in sickness and in health, like that's what we signed up for. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I guess I just need to know if you have that in you, like, can you do that? And if you can't, it's okay. And I'm not mad at you. And like, I have a lot of people in my life that can support me, but I'm just going to stop focusing my energy trying to get you to be one of them. Right. Which is like a hard thing to hear your wife with brain cancer tell you.
But it was almost at the same time like it was like a metaphorical, like you were able to get whatever bacteria I had out of my system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just be like, knock it off. You're not going through this as a separate entity with your wife. You're going through this with her.
Right. And I like understood why you were like that. Like, I understood why you were protective of yourself, because like the reality of the situation is like, I might not be here. And I think that was like the first thing that really like let me know that like there was a lot more going on under the surface than I could have imagined. Something happened. Jordy was having a hard time going down for a nap or something, and you got like really frustrated. Like, and it reminded me of the days of like postpartum depression. And I just remember being like, what, like, talk to me, like, tell me what's going on. And I was just like, you were being sort of like, you were annoyed with him. You were like irritated with him, and you got him out of bed and you brought him in our room and you just seemed off. And I was like, I said something like, what's going on? Like, what, something like really pushed a button in you. And he was like, you were like, what am I supposed to do when you're not here? Like, how am I supposed to handle things when you're not here? And I was like, whoa, we've never had a conversation like that. Let's not have it in this, like in this way. Like, let's not have it in anger. Like, obviously there's feelings of like fear and sadness there. And I'd rather talk about it like that.
Right.
And I basically was just like, hey, like, you can't use that against me. Like, that's not my fault. I did not choose the set of circumstances. Yeah. And we can talk about what we'll do if I'm not here, but like, I would like to have a real conversation about it, not just like you feeling frustrated and like throwing that around. And I feel like that was the start of like the beginning of our real conversations about, hey, like, this is our reality, and this
I quickly apologized.
You did. And I think it was just like, you didn't, again, because you didn't want to like burden anyone. You didn't want anyone to see you.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Like, as whatever. I was the only person you were talking to about this situation. And like, I didn't have the capacity to be your only source of support. I feel like once you realized that like people love you and they care about you and they want to know what's going on with you, and you can have a relationship with people that is inclusive of your circumstances, but it doesn't have to be all about your circumstances. I feel like that, and like us being real with each other, just like sort of helped make our lives more normal and us get along better and be really like actually a team and in it together. Mm-hmm. So what would you like encourage someone to do if they find themselves, you know, they're like the start of their family life and their spouse gets diagnosed with an illness that has a lot of unknowns around it? What would you sort of encourage that person to do?
Go to therapy. Find people that you can relate to who are in the same or relatively the same circumstances as you are in. That was the part that kind of unlocked the key to being a little more vulnerable to me. I needed to find other 30-something-year-olds whose spouses or siblings or even parents had cancer. And I found that, even though I didn't think it was around.
Yeah.
And it helped so much.
Yeah.
To relate to people who can actually relate to you in the real world and not just metaphorically.
Yeah. Well, because then it's like you don't put the pressure on the friendships outside of that to like be that for you.
But yeah, and like, no offense to anybody, but like, you don't know what I'm going through.
No.
Unless you're going through this in some fashion.
Yeah.
Even if you're the closest person to me.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's true.
You don't.
It's true.
And
that's nobody's fault. Like, no. And the expectation is not that you should understand.
No,
it's like,
but I
seek
feel
out people that will.
Yes. Especially like strangers who you don't know, who you could build a foundation of relationship based off this shared experience that is so like unique and devastating and life-changing. That really like lifted the curtain on just like being able to feel how I should be feeling,
because I feel like there's other people modeling it for you and
I mean, it's just more so just having the experiences to relate then the feelings come. But like, it made me more comfortable talking about it with people who can't necessarily relate, aka like my entire support system.
Yeah.
Because I know that they care.
Of course.
And it's okay if they care, and support can be shown in so many different ways. And, you know, it's a lot different from what I thought initially. Obviously, it's, you know, the support's been incredible. And the other thing was that I tie myself up a lot in like what my identity should be. You know this. Mm-hmm. I know that, you know, if you listen to the postpartum depression episode, the one thing that I hear people say all the time is, who I talk to is from that episode, is you say, hey, like, you want father, dad to be in your identity, but you don't want it to be your full identity. Mm-hmm. Same thing applies here.
Yeah.
Where I don't want my life or my entire ecosystem defined by sick wife.
Yep.
You know,
caregiver,
potential future single dad.
Yeah.
I don't want that to define me.
Yeah.
And it's really hard still to this day to not think that that won't.
Yeah.
In the future.
I mean, it's hard because like these are massive shifts, you know?
Yeah, but I think I've done a lot to dispel that.
You have. And like as a patient, I can relate to that as well. Like I say this all the time. I don't want cancer. I don't want people to just see patient and see brain cancer when they look at me. It's like I want them to see Jordy. I don't want them to just see this set of circumstances that happened to me.
Right.
That I have no control over. And it's like I realize I have no control over how people see me. All I can do is my very best to maintain a balanced life and to keep doing things that make me feel like me and be around people that make me feel like me. And I think that's what you've found too.
The control.
Yeah.
It's the lack of control and like I can't let my entire emotional state dictate how others feel about me.
Yeah.
Like others are going to feel how they want to feel. And like, whether I can control it or not, I need to accept the support.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have.
Yeah, no. I want to say I think you've done like the most amazing job of navigating your way through this. Like I'm always impressed by like I always feel like you've hit like a new level of like emotional
clarity,
like IQ or like vulnerability, and then I just feel like you just keep going, and I was not anticipating that.
It's because of that conversation you had with me.
Yeah, I know, and it's just so interesting because I actually haven't really said this to you before, but we can take it out if you don't want it in here. But like there was a point in therapy where I was talking to my therapist and I just remember being like, what if Hank's best isn't good enough? You know, like emotionally. Mm-hmm. Like what if what he has to offer me, it's not going to cut it for this? And I was like, just like, I'm going to just be in acceptance of that, you know? And like, I'm not angry about it. It's just like, I know that this is not one of his stronger suits and this just happens to be our circumstances. Like, I'm just going to be in acceptance of that. I'm not going to focus on trying to change it or improve it. I'm just going to accept it. And then like we had that conversation where I was like, okay, this is like my final attempt to put energy towards this, towards trying to improve this. And I'm so glad I did because it has made the world of a difference, and you're capable of clearly so much more than I thought you were capable of, but so much more than I think you thought you were capable of. So I just want to say thanks for being,
of course,
the best, supportive, most willing and open partner. And I love you.
I love you too.
What was it like to see me like in probably the worst pain of my life.
You were in the worst pain.
In the worst pain of my life. It was worse than childbirth.
Yeah.
And we knew that it was going to be hard, which is why we just wanted it to be us two. Because we were like, we can't take care of anyone else's feelings.
We made a really diplomatic decision.
Yeah.
Like this was a non-negotiable.
Yeah, because like both of our parents like wanted to be here to like support you and support me. And it's like, I knew I wasn't going to be feeling well. And when I'm not feeling well, I kind of just don't want to talk to anybody.
And I knew that the best support that I could have in this time would come from afar.
Yes. Like people checking in on you, but not having to like be around you and you having to like accommodate and make plans and stuff like that.
Like I'm not trying to host people.
Exactly.
Not that people... No.
Not like they were going to act like you were hosting them, but there's just like this pressure when people come to visit that like...
Right. You're visiting for us.
For us, and you need to be on and whatever. And so I think that was like definitely one of the best decisions we made.
Right. Unquestionably. And like all of the support that we had gotten from afar was amazing. Mm-hmm. But also the care that we had at the hospital was the perfect amount of support that we could have gotten. Like if we had more support, it would have been to not only our detriment, it would have been to the entire nursing staff,
it's just
doctors' detriment. Like
everyone's in there like with a specific job.
But we were also in like
done.
A really high alert facility.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone in there is like immunocompromised.
And thankfully they liked me and they let me sleep in the hospital every single night. Because they all told me that they don't let the slide every single time. Like,
they don't, but you're so easy.
Yeah, I was just like, if you guys want me to leave, I'll leave. It's fine.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, stay. My back was killing me by the end of that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so what was it like? I don't know how to say this without feeling like a POS, but like it wasn't too bad for me.
Oh, I thought that's great.
But that makes me seem like even though you were in the worst pain of your life.
But there was nothing for anyone to do.
That's kind of my point.
I was on medication.
You were safe.
I was safe. I was sleeping. You would ask me, "Do you want to talk?" And I'd say no.
Because
I could. No one could do anything for me.
You were in the worst pain of your life. The doctors had told us that this pain is similar to that of meningitis.
Which you've had.
I have had meningitis. I know that when I had those headaches, I did not want to do anything.
You don't want to look at a screen. You don't want to talk to anyone. You don't want to
I don't want to do anything.
No, you just need to sleep through it.
And so I understood the assignment here.
Yeah, you did.
Which was, hey, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Holler if you need anything.
For sure. You would check in like, hey, can I get you food? Right? Can I get you a drink?
Yeah.
Like, but that was kind of like all you can really do is just like be there to assist if I do need some help.
Right.
But I was like grateful that you were there because I didn't have to feel bad that I wasn't talking to you. I could lean on you for support at any moment.
And I was fine.
And you were fine. Like you weren't
I think that
anxious.
If Erica was there, she would have been out of her goddamn mind.
Erica wishes there was a live stream of the entire experience.
She would have been crying. And I'm not saying it's not warranted, but I'm saying like...
No, you were very like calm, cool, collected. That's what I needed.
She probably would have woken up in the middle of the night to check your pulse.
For sure.
Yeah.
Even though I like have like a thing on me.
Right. She probably would like steal those like the stethoscope to like make sure that you're breathing.
Make sure I'm breathing.
Quick, turn on your back.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I'm in a cancer unit at Mass General Hospital,
like you can trust that like
I'm going to trust the doctors
and the nurses and that, like they're going to do everything they can do to like make sure that everything goes well.
And I've told you this, but like while you were having your headaches, I would talk to the doctors every day outside and they're just like, she just needs to get through this and she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like this is expected. This is good because
It means something's
it
happening.
means something's
in there.
happening. If nothing was happening, they'd be very concerned that this trial might go to shit.
Well, not the trial, but
like
for me, like
yeah.
it wasn't working for me.
Right. And so they're like, it was almost like reassuring for me to be like, all right, like when you get out of this, like it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that like that convenience of not having to be bothered
Yeah.
by anybody unless it came from afar.
Yeah.
And not bothered. Bothered is the wrong
Yeah,
word.
not bothered, but I know what you mean. It's like having to respond to the text messages and those kinds of things.
I just want to do it on my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like, it was almost like, this is going to sound weird. It was almost like a retreat. You know what I mean?
It was the worst fucking retreat I've ever
Yeah, it was the worst
gone on.
retreat of my fucking life. But like, it was like
It was a break from
Yeah.
the hustle and bustle of having
You know what? You know how like there's a big thing now that like people will go into like these houses by themselves in the middle of nowhere without any devices. For,
Oh,
like,
yeah, like those silent retreats.
the silent retreats.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what it was for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Except
for me
like
too.
I learned about all the nurses and like their life stories and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like, it was nice to not have anybody that I knew around me.
Yeah, I totally get that. There was a lot happening in the room, you know?
There was
like,
a lot happening. People, they were cycling in and out.
like...
It didn't bother me whatsoever.
Right, but I'm just saying, like,
And
on top of that, to have to, like, answer a lot of questions that we probably don't have answers to, and to give updates and stuff. Like,
it didn't bother me whatsoever because I didn't know them.
No, I'm saying
That's what I'm saying.
From people that we do know where there's, like, more emotion tied to it.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, it's hard when you're still just, like, processing it and figuring it out yourself. So... Yeah, I mean, I
remember I woke up after like, I don't know, like it was like 3.5 days. I wake up after hearing the nurses come in and I just go, how you doing, Jordy? Because that's what I always do. Mm-hmm. And you just get up and you go, I'm feeling better.
I know.
And I was like, all right, we're good. And that morning I couldn't go back to sleep. I woke up, I walked back to our place that we were moving into.
Yeah.
And we got ready to live our chapter here.
Yeah. Got
a
little derailed by COVID.
Yeah, but like the out of the hospital stuff has been almost harder than the in the hospital stuff.
For sure. I mean,
mentally.
I think we had to we had to quarantine from each other.
That sucked.
It was just like very, very isolating. We already are isolated here.
I got COVID the day before I was supposed to go back to LA last week.
Yeah.
To see Brody for about a week.
So that was just sad and
I couldn't.
Disappointing. And then I was just basically told okay, let's start moving the body more, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's okay, you can't leave your room. So that was just depressing. What are you supposed to do all day?
Yeah.
You know, you're in a city thousands of miles away from home. You can't even be in the same room as your partner. Mm-hmm. And you don't feel great. It's just not a good combination for the mental health.
Yeah. At least I got the nice view in the guest bedroom. You did get
the nice view, yeah.
Yeah. And I could work and I watched the Olympics. I watched so much Olympics.
Yeah, you did. I watched some of the breakdancing today. It's really
Did you see
weird.
Have you seen the viral video of the Australian breakdancer?
No.
Oh, can I show you?
Sure.
It's going viral.
Is it for a good reason or a bad reason?
What do you think?
Bad. I feel like I'm not going to want to watch it because it's going to be too awkward. Oh, this is the one that I saw. What is this? I'm just confused. Who judges this? How did this make it into the Olympics?
I know.
Do you think they're embarrassed?
No, there is one part.
Do you think they're proud?
There's one part it's this part. Hold on.
No, this is the part I saw.
Is this the part that you saw?
Yeah. Why? I don't get it.
They didn't advance.
Oh, they didn't?
No.
Were there people better than that?
Way better.
Okay.
You'll
show me after.
What else do you want to know about the Olympics? Because we usually watch the Olympics together. I usually love the Olympics.
I know. I couldn't even I couldn't.
I watched so much Olympics.
You did. Well, I feel like we should wrap this up soon because it's
Wait,
pretty
let's talk
long.
more about the Olympics.
No, let's not. But the balance between hope and reality.
It's never going to be 50-50.
Where do you lie on that spectrum?
It changes by the day.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be 50-50.
Yeah.
It's also never going to be 100-0.
Yeah. After this trial.
It's not like I am hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean I am full of hope.
I know what you mean.
I'm very encouraged.
Yeah.
But I'm also realistic that this is a really early phase of this trial.
Yeah.
And even though every doctor is stoked beyond belief that you're in this and like you are the model patient for this, there's still this like,
but we know what we're up against.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
you can't just snap my fingers and be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Everything's better.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. But a nice little jolt of hope.
It is.
In doing this.
And yeah, I think that if we were doing this in different circumstances, it would be a little better.
Yeah.
Geographically.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to come a time where we're going to be a little more separate than we want to be.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go back home to be with Brody for a little longer.
He's having a hard time.
Yeah.
It's been hard.
And then, yeah, I would say like balancing that line is not something that you should aspire towards. It's something that you should feel okay with changing at a moment's notice.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
But don't let it dictate how you feel emotionally.
It's hard.
It's hard to kind of separate the two, but like,
yeah,
you could still be in the present while.
Right, you can still enjoy the moment, knowing what's hanging over your head.
Yeah, and like, I think I've gotten to the point where that's.
I think you are doing
fully
that.
What I'm in acceptance of.
Yeah, I think so.
So the Olympics.
I love you.
Love you too.
Thanks so much for listening to Grief Street. We put out new episodes every Monday. If you'd like to support us, give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel to find the video version of our episodes. Please subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and give us a 5-star review. We would love to hear from you and get some feedback. If you'd like to contact us, please email griefstreetpodcast@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 508-474-3378. That's 508-GRIEFST. Our theme song is Hepcat Jive, courtesy of purpleplanet.com. We'll see you next time.